Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we will set up a bot to manage our crop breeding process and upgrade our tools. Now, as you saw, we have the ore washing plant done. This thing is really nice. It's way faster. But of course, that means I did the TPV coils between episodes. And I also made some HSSG dust. And now that we have these coils, this means I can cook these for this quest, which will allow me to continue on towards going to Mars. I know I said I'm going to take a break from progression, but I'm running out of tungsten steel and I would love to have some more. But anyway, that's in the background. That's not the focus today. Today I will be looking at the farming bot and bees. So let's start with the farming bot. The farming bot is not like an item in the game. It's more of a concept, I guess. Basically, we're using open computers to make a robot that goes through the farm and breeds your crops up, breeds the stats up, makes more crops with the best stats, and it does it automatically. So I don't have to sit there for 300 hours doing it by myself. I did not write the code for this bot. It's available on the wiki, and I'll probably put it in the description as well. But this is a list of all the things we need for the crop bot. This is not just like a single thing and then I break it down with each step. Each row is a different thing that we need. It's a lot of open computers crafting, and there is a quest line about some of these components. So it might be good to just go through these just to, just for the sake of completion and just to get a little bit of extra help in crafting these things. But yeah, there's a lot to craft. I'm not going to show each and every step. I think I will just come back when there's something interesting or when I have finished everything. Also, there's 2 Thaumcraft things we need to make, and I don't have the research done for these, so I will have to do this as well. These are required in the setup. Few hours of crafting later, I have almost everything, but I discovered that I do need to make the next circuit board. So I do have to travel down this quest line a little bit more. I'm going to need some glass fiber. This is made from borosilicate glass bars, and the dust you can make from glass dust and boron. I don't know if we have any boron. We don't. But we can make it from borax dust, which I think we do have. We have a little bit of borax dust. I hope this is enough for the quest. Yeah, it totally is. I only need 23. Okay, so I can make these glass fibers. Then I can chemical bath them to get fiber reinforced epoxy resin. You can also chemical bath raw carbon fibers for these. So that's might be something I do over the glass fibers because this is essentially free. It's just carbon, but the glass fibers are not. Once I have those, I can make fiber reinforced circuit boards. Just aluminum foil, sulfuric acid, and the fiber reinforced epoxy. And then with that, I can make the more advanced circuit board using the usual stuff, this time with energetic alloy foil. So it's not too complex. I could have done this before, I just didn't see the need, and now the need has arisen, so. Okay, took a while, but I now have absolutely everything, according to the wiki page, including the Thaumcraft items. Now I want to fit all of this into one chunk, just because the guide recommends doing that, so I want to follow the guide as much as possible. I'm just going to dig this up, now that this farm is pretty much, I don't really use this anymore at all. So I'm just going to dig up this chunk for now, make it look a little nicer. Maybe add a building or something, undecided. Though I think I might just leave it open to the air as well. I don't know, I haven't decided. We'll see. Just got done clearing out a bit of the farm. This is just a copy of what's on the wiki. But before I get into the setup, let's actually build the robot. We make the robot using an electronics assembler, which you can connect to any GregTech cable. Now we just pretty much just shift click everything that makes an open computer into these slots. We haven't made an open computer before, but everything can only go in certain spots, so you can just kind of do something like this. Everything except for the OpenOS operating system floppy disk. The wiki says the minimum screen that you can put in is a tier 1, but actually it seems like the maximum screen you can put in is a tier 1 as well. So this tier 2 screen's not working, so let me go grab a tier 1. Now that goes in, no problem. And now we just click assemble and we wait until this is done. 3 minutes.
minutes later.
Here's the robot. His name is Wall-E, by default, I guess. I'm going to change that. Guess you can just do that in an anvil. And I'm going to name him Gary. Why Gary, you may ask? And I will never tell. Now we need to charge him up. We can use this charger from Open Computers, which can also be connected to a GregTech cable. It does need a lever to turn it on. And then all you have to do is place Gary down right next to the charger. Great, and now we can see that the energy is pretty much at 100%. Now we put in the operating system and click the power button. Then we type in install. Yes. And then yes again to reboot once it's done. And now, we don't need this floppy disk anymore. Now to get our crop breeding program onto Gary, there is something you can copy on the wiki and then paste it in here. And this will download everything basically from GitHub, like outside the game. Now we can put in the spade into the last spot and then the transvector binder into the second to last spot. It explicitly says last and second to last, so I assume there's some reason that it matters which spot it goes into. And then crop sticks over here. And also, if you have the unstable induced matic, you can put that in here as well. Now I have branched this cable off, and I have a little tunnel here that leads to underneath where the breeding area is going to be. So it just leads straight to this charger. I also added a compressed chest with some crops in it. I need to get more crops. And a trash can that needs to go here. These need to go in these specific spots. There also needs to be one piece of farmland connecting both these patches. And also the transvector dislocator goes right here. Lever on the side, turning on the charger, and then Gary. Gary will be placed on top of the charger, facing the rightmost column. Oops. The rightmost column of this farm. So these are the rows and these are the columns. Like this. So it says that bad things will happen if this chest ever runs out of crops. So I'm going to set up some kind of auto crafting on demand to feed this chest with crops whenever it runs out or whenever it has space to fit in more. For now I have 1,000 crops. I don't think that will last very long, but I'll add the auto crafting later on. You can optionally add a crop matron or crop matron where this bit block is, just to help the crops grow a little faster, but I'm just not going to bother. In the photo of the initial setup, there's also a checkerboard pattern of crops in this smaller farm, and that needs to be set up by hand. So let me go grab some stickweed, just because it's fast and I can maybe see what's happening. So let's plant these 17 seeds and get rid of these weeds. All right. Now this specific crop has been labeled the target crop. I'm not sure what that means yet because I'm still reading the wiki page. But I put the best or the closest crop that I have to 2131.0 in this spot. So this one has 2131.2. Okay, these are growing quite quickly. But now I think we can start the program. There are 3 programs available: auto tier, auto stat, and auto spread. Auto tier refers to the tier of the crop. Different crops have different tiers, and the higher the tier, the more rare the crop. For example, stickweed is tier 4, as it says on the tooltip. I'm not sure what the highest tier is, but it's at least 13 because that's what the default is in the program. The default at which it will stop trying to find higher tier seeds. So auto tier is the best program to run if you want to find new crops. The second program that we have is auto stat. And what this does is Gary will auto breed the crops until all the crops have the stats growth 21, gain 31, and resistance 0 to 2. Any crops that have a resistance higher than that or a growth higher than 21 will be treated like they're weeds and will be removed. And the third program is kind of something you use in conjunction with the second program. It's auto spread. Auto spread is actually what transfers the crops from this farm, which is called the working farm, into this farm, which is called the storage farm. Auto tier will try to move up the crop tiers within this farm. So you will potentially lose the crops you put in because you've replaced it with a higher tier crop. So this is a method for finding new crops. Auto stat will stat up your existing crops, and auto spread will spread crops into the storage farm. But it will only spread crops that meet the stat threshold. So let's try finally getting the highest tier stickweed, because my farm, it has a lot of really good stickweed, but not all of it is 21310. Well, it's pretty close. Maybe this isn't the best crop to do this with. But for demonstration, I'm going to run this with stickweed. Also because I kind of want to see what it looks like. So I'm turning on Gary. And now to run the program, I simply type autostat. This is the program that stats the crops up. 2 ampersands and then auto spread. This will stat up the crops to the highest possible values, and then it will spread it into the storage farm. And he's off. No idea what Gary's doing. Don't know if this is how it's supposed to be, but I guess we'll see. I'm a good HamCorp employee. I followed the instructions without thinking for myself. Seems to be working. Okay, I think I understand a little bit. I haven't read the code, but it seems like all of the crops that were removed of the ones that I placed manually were ones that had a resistance over 2, because 2 is the default maximum allowed resistance. So it interpreted them as weeds and got rid of them. And now the ones that are left are all the ones that are within the allowed parameters. So I think it's just going to let these breed, which may take some time. I might even want to replace the ones that were removed. Actually, I am going to. I'm just going to replace these really quick. Alright, I've replaced the ones that it destroyed. And I made sure they all had a resistance of 2 or lower. Now I'm just going to let it run for some time. And if I'm understanding this correctly, this farm will soon be full of 21310? 2? Not sure, but 2131 stickweed. Gary has been working for some time now, and I've noticed that almost all of these stickweeds are at 21310, and I've been watching him. It's kind of fun to watch, but it takes some time. Stickweed is quite fast, but I can imagine with other crops this could take a long time. But once every single crop in here is 21310, it will start transferring crops over to this farm. That is currently my understanding of how this works, and that makes sense, and it is kind of exactly what I want, so surely that's what it is. While I wait for this to confirm how I believe it works, I decided I'm going to spend some time upgrading my tools, because I still have an LV wrench, an LV soldering iron, LV screwdriver, a non-electric wire cutter, and all this other shit that could be upgraded. So I'm going to look into what materials to use. I don't really care that much about the durability of these tools, more about the mining speed, at least for some of them. So I'm going to upgrade these tools to HV and find some better materials for these. So I've looked through some materials. Kind of the best thing I could make right now in theory is shadow metal. But for shadow metal, I need the dust, which needs UU matter in magic essence, and also void dust. And void dust needs more magic essence and more UU matter, both of which I don't have set up, so which isn't really an option right now. For some of these tools, the mining speed doesn't matter, and it's more about the durability. So for example, the soft mallet, the crowbar, the screwdriver, those would benefit from using a material that have a high durability, even if the mining speed is not very high. But the best thing we could make is mana steel, and mana steel needs some more stuff as well. Needs me to do a bit of Botania, which I haven't done yet at all. And I don't really want to set that up yet. I'd rather dedicate like a full episode to Botania instead of just doing it like this. So I decided I'm just going to make a bunch of manulin for most of these tools, except the soft mallet, because that doesn't use manulin. That will be with steel leaf instead. Steel leaf you can get in the Twilight Forest, but I happen to have some. I don't remember where I got it. I assume the Twilight Forest, but I don't remember getting it, but I happen to have some. And then the manulin, we can make the dust from cobalt and ardite, and then we just need to blast it and cool it. And that gets us manulin. Very simple at this stage of the game. I'm not going to upgrade every single tool. So for example, the saw, I'm not going to upgrade, and the file, I'm not going to upgrade. Because they're only used in like manual crafting recipes. They're not used for maintenance. They're not used to break blocks. So if I do ever run out of files, like I can't imagine I'm going to run out of files at this point. But the saw, I mean, maybe this is going to break at some point. And if it does break, then yes, I will make a new one out of manulin. But for right now, I'm only upgrading the tools that are needed in maintenance. The tools that are needed in maintenance plus the wire cutter. The wire cutter is actually not used in maintenance, but it's still very useful. So I'm going to gather up a bunch of manulin and also this steel leaf hammerhead, which I can just make right now. Yeah, you know, crafting. One thing that is different, or that we haven't made before, is white metal. Needs an EV extruder and white metal dust rather. You make an EV mixer with platinum dust and other stuff that is easy to get. So this we could have done before, but it would have been more expensive and I would have been a little more reluctant. But now we're kind of drowning in platinum. Well, not really, but we have a lot more than before. 820 platinum. That's a good amount. So I'm gonna upgrade these tools and then we can go back and check on Gary. And I can already see that he's started spreading the crops to the storage farm. Just making the last of the tools now. This is a little sneaky. If you look at the recipe for the automatic snips, it seems like the wire cutter needs to match the plates here, but I don't think it does. Yeah, it doesn't. It's actually not consumed in the recipe. It's just, it's like a tool. I mean, it is a tool, so. Now I have everything upgraded to steel leaf for the soft mallet and manulin for everything else. And we've upgraded to the electric wire cutter. Now let's check out the farm. Very nice, except for the weeds. It filled up the farm, and all of these are approximately 2131.0. It's very close. Cool, so that is how that works. Great. Now we can start statting up the other crops. I think I want to start with the oak bonsai, because we have like 6 farms here. 7? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 7 oak farms. That's a lot. That's a lot of space being used just for wood, which is fine, but it would be nice to condense them down into maybe 2 or 3. So I'm just going to start with regular oak bonsais. Maybe I'll hunt down a nice one. Nah, fuck it. I'm just going to start with regular oak saplings and put them in the breeding area. Unlucky that there are weeds here. I don't know why Gary didn't fill up this spot. Little odd. If I break this, is he still running? Oh no. Okay, so once it's full, it just stops. Okay, got it. So I do need to be a little vigilant. That's fine. Oh, you know what probably happened? One of these probably died because of the climate or the conditions of the soil or something like that. That would make a lot of sense. Yeah. If you look at the biome, it changes right around here. This is Cherry Blossom Grove, and this is Snow Desert. I have replanted the stickweed, and I'm currently breeding up the oak bonsai. This is going to take some time. We're currently only at like 6 growth, 1 gain, or 3 growth, 4 gain. Basically, that adds up to like 7 at the moment. It's done when it adds up to 52. So this is going to take many, many hours. So I'm going to consider this complete. And I also checked, there's a calculator on the wiki that lets you calculate kind of an effective rate based on the stats of the crops. The actual rates were not that important to me, just the relative rates between 2131.0 and 111. And it happens to be a little bit under 8 times as efficient to use 1 full patch of 2131.0 versus 1 full patch of 111. And we have 7 patches right now. So it would make a lot of sense to free up 6 of these and just replace one of them with the maxed out crops. Maybe even 2. I might do 2 just to be safe. But then the rest of these will be free for other crops. I also considered the other crops that we have, like the sugarcane. I'm not really going to max those out. I don't see the point. I already make sugar fast enough with just 1 patch. Same with the glowflower. Same with the stick reed, but I mean, I wanted to use that to understand how the bot worked, so I'm happy I got this done, but this was not really necessary. The salty root is a little bit of a problem, because the maxed out salty root is going to die in these soil conditions. So I think I'm just going to leave salty root as it is, and if I ever am desperate for salt, I'll come back and think about this again, but for now this I'm just going to ignore. Terrawort, and finally the blaze reed. This one I am going to max out. Another crop I would like to stat up is Fertilia. We have one seed here, and I think this unknown seed is a Fertilia as well, but I need to check. But Fertilia is nice because you get a couple of different things from it. You get fertilizer, but you also get, I believe you get apatite dust and phosphate dust, and that basically means infinite phosphorus, which is not something we have right now. So that would be good. Also, infinite fertilizer would make everything else grow even faster, so doubly good. So once I stat up the bonsai and the blaze reed, I think I'm going to start searching for new crops using the other program, auto tier. But yeah, for now I consider this done, and I can move on to the next thing, and that is bees. Now this is something that is quite popular. A lot of people really like bees, and a lot of people really want me to do bees. So let's do bees. In the next episode. Sorry. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will at long last start working on bees. HamCorp would like to reassure employees that Gary will not be taking over your jobs anymore. See you next time.